Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Adoptees podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Danny Huerta. Looking forward to another chat, Danny.
Yeah, me too, Simon. I'm
Yeah,
excited to be with you on this one.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know if you've noticed, listeners, we've had a few more guests coming back on, and it's a brilliant way of reconnecting because uh, Danny and I spoke like 2.5 years ago, but it seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
Oh, it seems like yesterday, Simon. Yeah,
Seems
I
like yesterday.
totally enjoyed our conversation the first time, and when you popped on the screen, I'm going, "Oh man, yes, that was a fun interview. I loved it. So excited to be with you again."
Brilliant, brilliant.
Yep.
So, listeners, last time there's a link to the interview with Danny's that I did last time, and we looked at the kind of the whole what does thriving mean for adoptees? What do parents have to do to help their kids thrive?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I was listening back to that in preparation for today's call, I thought, why don't we take a more personal take at it, like a more personal run at this in terms of what thriving means to you,
Uh,
Danny. What's your
yeah.
take for you personally? And I guess we're going to get into we might get into some professional and family stuff as well. But let's just start with that personal point. So, what does thriving mean to you?
We're getting personal, Simon. This is
Okay.
great, man. Yeah, yeah, we're
And
getting,
as much as you want to go, right? I mean, you might
yeah,
have no secrets. I know you're a clean living guy and
yeah.
everything. We don't want to
Love it.
ask you. But, um,
Yeah.
yeah, thriving. What does thriving mean to you personally?
Yeah, there's so many things as I think of the word thriving. And from my faith perspective, the first one is, am I connected to God spiritually? And there are moments where I notice where I just don't have time to spend it in God's word or praying. And I notice a difference in how I handle relationships, how I handle the day, how I handle my time, how I see things throughout the day. So one of the things for me thriving is, am I spiritually thriving? Am I in a close relationship with God? And then secondly, I notice that when I'm exercising, I feel a sense of thriving in that because it does energize me. It helps me feel there's something that I can control and steward well. And this is the body and the health that God has given me. And I get to be a steward of that. Then another part of stewardship that helps me thrive is when I go out in my garden and I am out in God's nature. I'm interacting in that by when I'm hiking or when I'm out in nature, either by myself or with my family or with my wife. I'm just taking it all in, and that to me feels like I have a sense of well-being, which helps me in my thriving as a human being.
Yeah,
And when I'm gardening, when I'm growing things, it reminds me of what thriving is about. It means a deep rootedness. When I see a plant thriving, I see a deep rooted plant, a dirt that is very good and healthy. It's soil that's very healthy for the plant. And I picture that being a humble heart. If I am teachable, I'm going to thrive. And so that's that plant, a deep rooted plant. You get to see a thriving plant on the outside. You see leaves that are dark, they're taking in nutrients and they're being fruitful. And so for me, when I'm at my best at work, when I'm getting to use the gifts and talents God has given me, and I get to serve other people, that's when I know, man, I am thriving. And in that, I find a sense of purpose and meaning in my life. There's that fruitfulness. We think of the fruit of the Spirit. Am I being a loving person? Am I being patient? Am I being peaceful? All these things. Is that the output of my life? And then the other part of thriving that we need to talk about is, am I financially in a good place? Am I able to provide for my family? And then with my time, am I investing in the best things that I can? And that is in the relationships with my kids, with my wife, my friends, with my extended family. Am I doing well in my investments? And then lastly, Simon, it's in my mental world. What is happening inside of there? Am I just pretending on the outside? Or am I truly on the inside in my mental world at peace? That's when I know I'm thriving.
yeah. Well, thanks for giving us such a narrow definition.
Yeah. I love it, Simon. Yeah. Yeah, simple, real quick. Yes.
Yeah. What's the richness? What's the do these all? I mean, you started with faith,
Yes.
and you know, you talked about faith. You talked about relationships. You talked about the mental side. You talked about nature. You talked about obviously you talked about God. Does God underpin this all for you?
Yeah. Well, let me bring it together. Okay, Simon. That way, this is how I think about it each day. All right. And I do this with my clients and anyone coming in, and then I do talks on this. And this is so you have 5 areas that you look at for flourishing. And the first one is my spiritual life. And so that's what I talked about, right? The spiritual. Yeah. Number 2 is my mental world. Where am I at? How am I doing? And I kind of rate each of these. So mental world, where am I at? I check in my emotional world. Am I developing emotional intelligence? Am I paying attention to other people's emotions? Do I know do I care about what they're feeling? Do I see other people and care about their emotions? Do I practice empathy? How's my emotional world doing? And then the next one is my relational world. Am I connected to other people? Do I invest in that? How am I doing in that? And I rate that. And then the last one is my physical world. Am I sleeping well? Am I exercising? Am I eating right? That's the other portion. And if I'm doing those 5 well, I'll be thriving. Yeah. It's a plant being taken care of.
Yeah. It's fascinating because I've been over the last 12 months or so ago, 12 months, I've been looking at drawing together all the learnings that I've heard from the fantastic guests on the show. And I actually came up with those 5 things for healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
For healing. So we're looking. So exactly those 5 things. Exactly those 5 things.
Great. That's great.
So I think it started with the when I did them, I did them kind of in order of deepening depth, right? So increasing depth.
Okay. Right? Yeah.
So I looked at the mental side first, right? The mental side, the mindset. Then the next one was the emotional. After that, emotional healing. Then the next one was the body, like healing in terms of the body and like shaking out, like the Taylor Swift song. Like I've been doing traumatic. I've been doing somatic experiencing for the last year or so, right?
Yeah,
I'm shaking it out. But I'm surfacing stuff out of my body, right? So and that's what somatic stuff is about. It's about making the stuff that is unconscious conscious.
Yeah,
because the unconscious stuff is locked away in our bodies.
Right.
And then I looked at the relational side, the group side, like that, and then I had the spiritual at the bottom. And by putting it at the bottom, I'm actually saying it's the most important.
Right. Yeah. 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 I get that. I mean, the deepening of it. Correct.
It's the deepening of it tracks. So it's fascinating that I looked at that for a healing framework, right? To look at healing, and you're looking at that from a flourishing and a thriving perspective. So isn't it great that there's that overlap of that? And I'm getting goosebumps actually at that.
That's awesome.
Getting good goosebumps about that.
Yeah.
And what struck me about that was it can feel a little bit overwhelming, right?
It can. Yeah.
And you know, as you were talking, and you mentioned time at the top of the first answers that you said, and at the bottom, and I'm wondering, you're full on. You're a full on guy.
Full on guy. Yeah.
You're a full on guy. All the stuff that you're talking about, and the stuff we've been we're doing this on Monday. We're recording this on Monday, Thursday before the Easter weekend. So you're explaining to me all the stuff you've got on over the weekend, right? So what there's a time pressure there around that. So what's the key for you that unlocks that pressure?
Yeah, man. There've been moments where, I mean, several moments in the last 10 years, 11 years since I took this position as vice president of parenting youth to focus on the family, and then maintaining a practice, and then having teenagers in the house, and being all in all those areas that I've felt pressed in on. And I remember this one professor telling me when I was going through the PhD program, she said, you know, when you're doing papers, you're going to drown if you want to look for perfection. You want to bring in your best, and things are never going to be perfect. Let things go. And I was going, man, what a great illustration for life. There's certain things I need to be wise about of what I let go. And it begins mentally. What are the things that I need to let go of? Because many times what interferes with our time of being all in wherever we are at is our mind. We're still in the previous thing. We're still in the worries. We're still in the stress. We're still trying to fix things. We want things to go a certain way. We're trying to control things we can't. And that's our mind world getting stuck. And so learning to go outside, or whatever thing you need to do, look at your windshield wipers, go outside and open your hands, whatever it is, saying, I need to let this go so that I can be present and find the gift of what's here right now. That's how we can begin to flourish, is to learn to let things go, because then we can lead to a balanced life. We're able to pause and have awareness of things that are off balance and say, you know, work's always going to be there. That mess is okay today. This thing's there. What's important to me right now is sitting down with my daughter and connecting with her. It's important right now is sitting with my wife and connecting with her. It's important right now is opening up God's word and just really allowing for him to really speak into my heart. And so it's an awareness of our mind and our time to be able to say, okay, here it is. This is where I want to point my attention and my spotlight. And Simon, one thing that I've been thinking, a word I've been thinking a lot about is the word stewardship. We get to be stewards of things, and it's not about life just pulling us wherever, here and there. We steward it. We get to steward our homes, not only physically of our house and our yard, but also our relationships within the home. We get to steward our job and the responsibilities we've been given. We get to steward 24 hours in a day that are ours to engage with. No one else owns those hours except for us, ourselves. We get to steward our body, the diet that we have, the exercise we do, to steward that. So we get to be stewards, and in that we get to serve. And if we have those two things, that perception that we're stewards and servants, it changes everything. It changes us into people that are responsible for certain things, and we need to make decisions based on that. And then we get to love other people. And when you're thriving is when you're able to see other people and not try to gain their love, but give it away. Because that's our flourishing as Christians, as human beings. The more we love and the more the more generous we are with our words and who we are, the more we have. The more richness we have in our life, the more meaning we find. And it's imperfect. That's the thing. It's an imperfect process. It's something that is not easy. We're used to easy. This is something that's difficult, but that's where you find flourishing, where things are difficult, where they're tough to do, but you make the decisions to point life in a certain direction, and you find a sense of satisfaction and joy in that. And that's what helps you flourish, because you become who God has created you to be. And that is a steward of it all. He says we get to, in the garden, we started there. And he says, serve one another, love one another. And that's where we'll discover his provision, we'll discover his voice, we'll discover his strengthening his spirit. And man, that's like having sunshine on a plant. You will flourish.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love the metaphor. I love the metaphor. Do any, and I love this word steward. Do you remember when it first came to you, or when its importance became clear to you, Danny, the stewardship?
Man, wonderful question. I love that. No one's ever asked me that, Simon. I like that. So I was studying in Colossians 3:12, and it starts with the words put on, put on. And I'm like, man, okay. These words put on, that's very directive. And then it says these wonderful things, compassion and kindness and goodness, some big things to put on. And that's my responsibility. I'm going, whoa, okay, no one else, I put these on. And then it says, let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. And so I'm going, okay, there's two lets there that are very, very big in Colossians 3. So I'm a steward. I'm putting something on and I'm letting something happen. And I'm stewarding the process of the Spirit inside of me. And so that came about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. As a leader, I was thinking, how do I show up the best I can when I'm serving parents and I'm serving my team and I'm serving my family? How do I need to show up? And so as I was going through that and I was studying on the word abiding in him, realized I'm stewarding my time to abide in him. I'm stewarding the letting of God's Spirit dwell in me. And I'm putting on certain things intentionally to engage with the day. And then I went back to Genesis 3, where he talks about stewarding the garden. And I'm going, okay, his design, he wanted us to work. He wanted us to have relationship. His calling to us is to be stewards. And then Jesus strengthened that by saying, I came here to serve, not to be served, but to serve. And so all that study about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, it all came together. And I wanted to explore the word stewardship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it began. Yeah.
So what have been the kind of the things that you've learned that have made you become a better steward over those times?
Man, Simon, I don't know if better. I'm doing my best. I'm trying the best I can. And the way
Nobody's good at modesty. Have you found anybody that's good at modesty yet?
yeah. Having mentors in my life has been helpful. Being able to be honest and open with them, to shake off, and that you use that word, shake it off, to shake off the things that are getting in the way, to be able to, in my words, talk about what is deep inside of me. What am I frustrated with? What am I wrestling with in my spirit? It's a place where I get to reflect in my words how the last month or few weeks have gone as far as my stewardship of my responsibilities. And so that's been a key one. Another one that's been helpful has been journaling, just writing down thoughts and maybe insights God's giving me. And I'm going, okay, why now? Why am I thinking about this now? And looking at my thought bubbles and figuring out the theme, and then having walks with my wife, being able to talk to her and having her ask me questions. I hope that my hope and my prayer is that God speaks to me through my wife, and I need to be very open to words that are coming from her that are trustworthy. And she gives me reflections or questions that I need to be hearing. And so being attentive and attuned to that. Also my daughter and my son in our one-on-one times, being able to listen carefully at things that they bring up. I trust that God would speak through them to me, kind of like what Nathan did with David. If there's a blind spot, I want to know about it. And those are the things that blind spots are some of the biggest things that prevent us from flourishing. And so I do ask my team every once in a while, guys, let me know if I have any blind spots, because they're blind to me. That's why they're called blind spots. And
Yeah.
so I need you guys to take a look, bring them to me. I want to know. And that's important for us to be open to that we have a lot of blind spots.
Yeah. Just on the kind of the team thing. Mm-hmm. Have you come across something called DISC, like compact disc? Have you come across that? It's like it's basically it's like a what you're like at work profiling tool.
Okay.
So you answer a series of questions.
Oh, the DISC, the personality one.
Yeah, you've seen that.
Yeah. We've used that here at Focus on the Family.
Okay, that's great. If you listeners, if you've got a team, it's a really good tool because everybody can do it. I mean,
right.
As well as that kind of 360 reviews that you're talking about, right? So your staff are giving feedback. You're not just giving them feed. Have you had a feed forward rather than feedback?
Nice. Feed forward. That's right.
Feed forward. Because I heard this years ago. It's one of those things that sticks with me, right? You know, somebody says, just a little bit of feedback for you, Simon. And the heart sinks, right? What have I done wrong? Right. And I can't do it. I can't go back into the past and I can apologize, but I can't go back into the past and redo it. Right. It's not possible. So, I heard this idea of feed forward. Right, which is I don't want any feedback because I've messed up. I want what I need to do better next time. Mm-hmm. But so these are all tools for
those are good tools. Yeah,
disc and this attunement and learning. I think we learn a lot from our nearest and dearest. Didn't say have you heard of a guy called Ram Dass, like a thinker guy?
No.
Like a spiritual thinker. He was an American guy who changed his name, but he said if you think you're enlightened, go and spend Thanksgiving with your family, right? So it's like it's like a wake up call. And what can you learn? What can we learn from the way that we're doing? So I love the way that you're tuning into that. One that's kind of popped into my head in today, actually, because I was doing a bit of journaling this morning, right? But I was journaling about what I'm going to do next, and I'm like, okay, so I've got all these options, right? Let's just slow it down a bit here, and put it in a little. I think I had two different sets of 4 or 5 processes, right? I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, right? And then so that's one process, and then I'm going to do F, G, H, I, J, and I kind of wrote that down. I thought, okay, well, I've got some clarity. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And then I went off for a swim, and as I was thinking, why am I doing that first thing? I've got 2 things. I've got 2 things, and I've got 5 steps for each 2. I've got 2 projects, and I've got 5 steps for each project. Why am I going to do that? Why am I this whole project? It's going to be a distraction. Why am I doing this? Just the time to reflect. And you talked about a spotlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do in terms of keeping your focus? So spotlight is you're focusing your actions rather than
right. And spreading it out.
Rather than spreading it out. So I guess I know the spotlight. So yeah, it's a rifle rather than a shotgun, right? So
right. Sounds a little more violent, Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound a little bit diamond. I recognized that as it was coming out of my mouth. So what would be, yeah, a spotlight. What's the opposite of well, yeah, I guess it would just be a normal bulb, wouldn't it? It would be a bulb. It just sends the light everywhere, or the spotlight has it focused? Yeah.
I threw you off there a little bit, right?
You did.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Have you seen my spotlight?
Have I seen your spotlight? Yeah, yeah. Right now, I'm seeing it right on.
Oh, okay. No, I have literally got one here.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Let's see it.
I've that you can see it.
Oh my, yes, that is a spotlight. That's a serious spotlight.
That is a serious spotlight.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's
So
good.
it's from the Suez Canal.
Oh wow.
In around 1900.
Sweet. See, that fits right in what we're talking. Way to have a prop right there, Simon. Man, that's impressive.
To do that, but I've got this. There we are.
Yeah. Yeah, you're almost looking like me. Just kind of cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't keep that hair in there, man. Yes. So Simon,
sorry, listeners. This showing Danny a spotlight works on a video call, but it doesn't really show you it. So I'll post a picture.
Okay, all right.
I'll post a picture of spotlight. Okay. So how do you maintain your focus? What's your spotlight? How do you time?
Two things. One of the things is the awareness that we need to have habits. We need to have habits for our habits, and we need to have habits. We need to be aware of what the habits are that we have and be intentional about the habits we want to have. And that means the patterns that we want to intentionally put into our lives. So for me, I know there's a habit of getting up a little earlier, maybe doing a very short 5 to 10 minute HIIT workout because it's doable. I can do it. I go to an app called Thenx, put it on, 45-second exercises, about 6 of them, and I'm done. I'm like, yes, good. I got that. My brain is woken up. I eat some breakfast, shower. I mean, it's a routine with those habits. The other habits are being able to put everything down at night and engage in relationship with my family, the habit of relationship, the habit of mealtime together. Some important things that show what is important to me. That's the spotlighting, the highlighting of what is actually important to me. The other day I was, there were a lot of things pressing in, and here's where we do have a habit of family time together once a week. And my daughter said, "Hey, when's our family time? When are we going to do that this week?" And I said, "Hey, when does everyone have available?" And we carve that night out, and we have a habit of family celebration. That's spotlighting into our relationships. Now, in the larger question day to day, Simon, when I'm thinking spotlight, I think awareness. And am I really attuned and present with you right now? Am I attuned and present with the person in front of me? It's a picturing of I am actually the spotlight guy, and there's a person by the microphone and they're about to speak. I don't want to have my spotlight everywhere. I want them to feel important to me. And I want to spotlight them. So relationally, it's attentiveness. Where's my attention? Because I get to take care of that. And then throughout the day, what is grabbing my attention and why? Is it out of fear and anxiety? Is it out of stress and urgency? Or is it out of intentionality? What is grabbing my attention? Because I get to control that. And if it's out of fear, that's when I can say, man, I got to stop and pray. Lord, help me. I'm afraid, or I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, and I can call it out. Man, that's grabbing my attention. Why? What do I need to do to regain control of the spotlight? And so maybe it's taking a walk, maybe it's talking to someone, maybe it's just getting on my knees in my office and saying, Lord, help my spotlight get realigned. I mean, right now it's all over the place. Man, I need to really tighten up my spotlight. I need to see you, and I need to concentrate. I need to focus. And so it's a self-awareness. And then it's also a care of wanting to really know what I need to pay attention to. And so it's seeking wisdom from God, and then also caring about the people or the work in front of me. And so it requires a sense of direction that I want to have inside of me. And so it's the habit in that case of attention, the habit of how do I manage my attention, and learning that about myself. And so whoever's listening, It's learning what is captivating my attention and how do I realign that. For everyone, it's different. It may be journaling, it may be drinking some water, it may be doing jumping jacks for a little while. Whatever it is, you learn it and do that habit of bringing that attention back where it needs to be, and calming yourself down. See, Simon, once we do that, I really do believe that then the fruit of the Spirit is seen in us. So then people are able to see the evidence of you flourishing when you're attending to things from inside out. And that is, then you have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control that are evident in you. And people see the presence of God's Spirit through you. And as that happens, you're relationally more connected to people. Adversity seems doable. You're able to focus in on that, on that relationship with God, and paying attention that He's with me all the time. And so, as you're thinking about this spotlight idea, think about being in the theater, and your one job is to put the spotlight in one direction and help that other person feel important. That's in front of you. That's that relational component. Then picture you going throughout the day, moving that spotlight to things that are important rather than the urgency and these emotions that can get you wobbling everywhere. As you picture that, you become more intentional as to where your attention is pointed. And the big question is, why? Why am I pointing it in that direction?
Yeah. I love that. I love what's my focus and why, right? So I'm thinking that kids game, like a hide and seek game, or a blind man's buff, right? Warmer, colder. Am I warmer, or am I colder?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Am I closer? But the why, so why am I coming? Am I coming from love, or am I coming from fear? Because I think I've heard those described as opposites, love and fear. I don't know. Who. Yeah, have you heard that? Love and fear as opposites? I know. Yeah.
I think love and apathy would be kind of the two opposites.
Okay.
But fear would be another one. Yeah, I mean, either trust or distrust, and love and fear would be an
why apathy? What?
Well, love is an action, an active pursuit of connectedness. Apathy, hatred, there's still a pursuit of something. And so hate is not necessarily the opposite of it. It's the apathy, because you're done. You stopped it. There's no action.
What popped into my head as I was listening is couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. And then the next thing that popped into my head was, like a work thing, and a story I heard ages ago about a guy's going around. He's going around the Ferrari. He's going around the Ferrari factory in Modena in northern Italy. Maranello, I think it's called. And there's a guy sweeping, and he says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm helping make the next Ferrari."
Yes.
Rather than,
that's a good picture.
He was putting love into the sweeping of a factory floor. And then as I explain that back, I'm thinking about my own stuff here, right? So between college and university, I worked in a coffee factory in Berlin for 3 months. I was supposed to be there 4 months, but I didn't like it, so I came back after 3. Yeah. One day they gave me this broom and said, "Right, sweep the factory floor." So I put my Walkman on, right? Any
Yeah.
of those? Put my
Yeah.
Walkman on.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, I came back to the guy and I said, I finished. And he took the brush off me and gave me a smaller brush. And he said, no, you've got to make that job last the rest of the time.
Oh, wow.
But at no point was I like the Ferrari, the
Yeah.
brush wielder in the Ferrari factory. You know, I was just,
Right.
I couldn't care less. I was listening to my music. Luckily, I had enough batteries for my Walkman. You know, I had enough. But yeah, 8 hours I spent just brushing away, and I couldn't care less about that
Yeah.
factory. So yeah, love and apathy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great that's a great contrast.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking about you and all the stuff that you putting in. You know, you're putting loving into work. You're putting loving into your family. You're putting love into your gardening. You're putting love into exercise. Um, so as we close in on, I want to go back to the very start, right? The connection with God. Yeah,
Yes.
as you that you mentioned, because I guess if that's the first thing you mentioned, it's probably the most important thing for you, right? So can
Yeah.
you can you just share some more on that on the back of the conversation we've had for the last 40 minutes or so?
Well, I love. I'll read one verse, and then I'm going to tell you one of my favorites is found in John, and in this one, uh, John says, or Jesus. This is the time when he stands up and cries out, and he says, "Anyone who is thirsty, come to me. If anyone believes in me, as the scriptures have said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." Talk about flourishing. That's a picture of flourishing. If anyone is thirsty, come to me, right? So he's saying, come to me. And so in that, spiritually, we're going there, and out of that outpouring are rivers of living water. I mean, think about a river. It never ends. You go, man, where's it getting it? Where's the water coming from? It's just flowing. And that's what he's saying, that can come out of us if we're connected to him. Now, in Psalm 143, verse 8, it says, let me hear in the morning of your steadfast love, for in you I trust. Think of the word trust, and think of our society right now with social media and everything. Trust is in question. If you cannot trust, you can't build. You can't. It's everything's unsure, and so it leads to anxiety. It leads to depression. It leads to an emptiness, because you can't build off of that. So in this one, it says, let me hear in the morning of your steadfast, immovable love, for in you I trust. Make me know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. When we lift up our soul there and we know the way to go, man, that's when we begin to find beautiful things along the way, along that path. And it's telling us that. And then it goes on to say, deliver me from my enemies, O Lord. I've fled to you for refuge. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. That's flourishing. We get to be on level ground if we pursue God, and we begin with that. It's not our afterthought, it's our beginning, because then we know what way to go. Where should we go? And then we have these rivers of living water flowing through us and out into a thirsty world, and we find our purpose, we find our identity, which is what everybody's really searching for. And that's why they have a hard time flourishing, because they're so desperate to figure out, who am I? And all these quizzes of figuring out your personalities and all those different things. It's this search for,
It's
who
way
am
deeper
I?
than that.
Yeah,
Our personality changes all the time, right?
right.
But we get it confused with identity somehow. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but yeah.
So it's all this pursuit of, who am I, and how do I interact, and we're constantly trying to learn about ourselves. Man, it begins with this pursuit of God in the morning. And that's why it says in the morning, the first thing. And that's why this whole list, the first thing, spiritually, where am I? And then it'll explain a lot more about where your behaviors are at, where your mind is at, where your emotions are at, where your body's at. And there's some trees. There's some trees in the forest, and I think this is fascinating. I know we're wrapping up, but there's some trees in the forest where you don't notice the dying from the inside out of that tree until it's too late. It looks like it's flourishing on the outside. And then once the roots have completely rotted on the inside, it's just falling apart. Over time, you see on the outside that tree, the disease has got it from the inside out. And many of us as human beings, we learn how to put on a facade where we want everybody to think we're flourishing in a certain way. But man, it begins on the inside. Eventually it'll show up on the outside that you're not. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, man, I am struggling. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you bad. It just says, man, can somebody help me? I don't feel like I'm flourishing. Let's lean into each other. Let's learn how to trust one another. But it begins with this relationship with our Heavenly Father. Do I trust Him? Where am I at with that? And that's where the healing, as you were talking about, can begin, and spiritually. So you started with mental, emotional, and then relational and physical, and then that spiritual side of things. Man, let's heal that, and then let's live out from a flourishing perspective in each of those categories a life that is in service towards others and a steward within God's kingdom. And I really do believe we can find that imperfectly, but we can find it. And again, Simon, I think it's that word abide, to live in, to abide in God's presence makes a difference. There's always scary things in the world. There are always things that could be hurtful. But let's take a deep breath today and abide in Him.
Great place to bring it in. Thanks, Danny.
Yeah.
Thanks, listeners. We'll speak to you again very soon. Take care.